Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, February 16th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the last 30 days, we've seen some precipitation across the Great Basin, and some areas, especially in the south, have been very dry. However, any precipitation we have seen over the last 30 days has been well below normal for the entire Great Basin. Looking at recent snowfall over the last 72 hours, the image on the left, we have seen some new snowfall up to a foot in some areas of the higher elevations of Utah, up into Wyoming and eastern Idaho, and also some snowfall into the central Idaho mountains as well, with much lighter amounts over southern Idaho into northeast Nevada. Looking at the current snow depth, the highest snow depth still remains over the central Idaho mountains into far eastern Idaho and Wyoming, and then lesser amounts of snowpack over the higher terrain of Utah and into the Sierra, with much lighter amounts into central and northeast Nevada. However, again, the snowpack still remains below normal over the southern two-thirds of the Great Basin and closer to normal over central Idaho into Wyoming. The satellite loop for Friday morning shows generally clearer skies over the southern two-thirds of the Great Basin and currently even into much of Idaho. However, we do have a system dropping down from the northwest, which will pull some precipitation today into Idaho and Wyoming, mainly the northern third of the Great Basin, with also some breezier winds. Otherwise, lighter winds and generally clear skies with dry conditions will continue today for the south. And looking at the weather pattern for later today, you can see this trend with a ridge of high pressure still dominating off the west coast, keeping western and southern areas of the basin drier with generally north to northwest wind flow. However, up in the north, you can see these showers moving across Idaho into Wyoming. However, they will be fairly light today. The ventilation index shows good dispersion over Idaho and Wyoming, again where those winds will be strongest, and poor dispersion over the rest of the Great Basin. Looking at the transport winds, the image on the left shows those breezy winds over mainly the higher terrain of Idaho into Wyoming, where wind gusts could exceed 25 to 30 miles per hour. Elsewhere, very light winds across the basin. Mixing heights will remain low in the west and south, and a little bit higher in more the moderate range in areas further north. By tomorrow, that system drops further south across the Great Basin, bringing clouds and showers mainly to Idaho and Wyoming in the form of snow showers. We will see some clouds dip into northern Utah and northeast Nevada. However, the showers will likely hold off until later in the weekend. Dispersion will remain generally poor over the northern areas and into the south. We may have some better dispersion as those winds increase over parts of northern Nevada and northern Utah on Saturday. Again, looking at the transport winds, you can see how the winds increase further south on Saturday as that system drops south, with gusts generally in the 30s to around 40 miles per hour in some areas, with cooling temperatures. Mixing heights will remain higher in the north and lower in the south. On Sunday, that system really starts to dip south, and we will see some increasing clouds and occasional snow showers drop into the northern half of Nevada and Utah, along with cooling temperatures and increasing winds. However, that means the dispersion will increase area-wide by Sunday. Looking at the picture on the left of the transport winds, you can see generally stronger winds over much of Nevada and Utah into the Sierra, and still some moderate winds up north. These winds across the Sierra into Nevada and Utah will be gusting in the 40s to above 50 miles per hour at times, with a general west to northwest direction. Mixing heights again will increase rapidly as this system drops south on Sunday. Looking at the clearing index for Friday through Sunday, you can see generally low clearing indices indicating that poor dispersion over much of the lower terrain of Utah on Friday and really even into Saturday. But on Saturday, you can see those clearing indices start to go up in the north as that system drops south and the winds increase, and then we have high clearing indices area-wide across Utah by Sunday as those winds will remain quite strong. Looking at the overall forecast amount of precipitation for the next few days, you can see the heaviest amounts up into central Idaho and Wyoming as those next cold fronts drop south. And then even further south, especially as we get later in the weekend, we'll see that precipitation make its way into Utah, northern Nevada, and the Sierra, again with the highest snow accumulations being in the higher elevations, but even the lower elevations as that front drops south across the valleys of central Nevada and Utah, we will see those snow levels drop to valley floors. Looking a little further ahead into the early part of next week, we still continue with this trough pattern across the Great Basin, with cooler temperatures and moisture mainly affecting Idaho and Wyoming. However, we will have good dispersion area-wide with these systems dropping south. As we go into Tuesday, this area of low pressure starts to move further east with drier conditions across the Great Basin, and we will start to see dispersion decrease, especially across Nevada and Utah. As we move into Wednesday, we have this lingering area of low pressure off the west coast, as well as the main trough of low pressure moving east across the northern Rockies. So we will have generally poor dispersion in between these areas where wind flow is weaker, mainly across Idaho and Utah, and maybe slightly better dispersion as you move into Nevada. By Thursday, the pattern remains unchanged with drier conditions across much of the basin, with the exception of parts of Idaho and Wyoming, as this system in the northern Rockies is clipping the northern areas, but still drier conditions further south and west with generally poor dispersion. Looking at the forecast amount of precipitation from Monday through Wednesday morning, and you can see first the lingering effects of that first system, and then that second system with precipitation mainly targeting the northern and eastern half of the Great Basin, with western Nevada into southern Nevada and parts of the Arizona Strip remaining relatively dry. Now looking further ahead towards the end of February into the 1st of March, we are expecting below normal temperatures, so this progressive pattern of troughs moving through, bringing fronts with cooler temperatures, stronger winds, and chance of precipitation will continue into the early part of March. And then precipitation will still remain likely near to above normal in the north and may actually increase to above normal in the south if we get more of a southern trajectory of these storms. That concludes our briefing for today. Check back on Monday for the latest updates.